So here's something that caught my attention. Bloomberg just reported that the iPhone 18 Pro, the one coming in 2026, will launch in red. Now, if you're thinking, wait, haven't we had red iPhones before? I think, yes, absolutely. But here's the detail that changes the context. It's never been a Pro model, and it's almost never been available at launch. The first red iPhone arrived as a mid-cycle release for the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. Same story with the iPhone 8. You could buy that year's iPhone in red, just not in the first 6 months. The iPhone XR had red from day one, sure, but that wasn't the premium tier. The XS, no red at launch. What this tells me is that Apple has historically treated red as a secondary tier option, almost like a delayed refresh to keep attention on older hardware. But now they're putting it on the Pro at launch. That doesn't look accidental. Let me back up for a second. The Pro models have traditionally leaned into muted, sophisticated colors. Forest green, deep purple, quiet shades that signal premium without screaming for attention. That was the playbook until last September. That's when Apple dropped Cosmic Orange, a bright, feisty color that caught a lot of people off guard. And I think that moment matters more than we realized at the time because it signaled a shift in how Apple thinks about the Pro line, not just as the serious option, but as the expressive one too. Mark Gurman at Bloomberg put it this way: Apple is now considering a deep red color for its next lineup. Given the success of orange, I wouldn't be surprised if the company keeps that option around and just adds the red as an additional choice. But red and orange might be a little too close on the color wheel to have both. He goes on to say that as of now, red is the new flagship color in testing for the next iPhone Pros. Now, here's where it gets interesting. If red becomes the hero color for iPhone 18 Pro, what happens to orange? The article suggests Cosmic Orange probably won't stick around for a second year. And from a product strategy perspective, that actually makes sense. Apple has a long history of rotating hero colors. You create demand through scarcity. Keep a color for 1 year, retire it, and suddenly that phone becomes a limited edition in retrospect. But there's something else happening here too. The article mentions that iPhone 18 Pro could, in some ways, be thought of as an iPhone 17 SS, using Apple's old naming convention for years with minor external changes, but internal updates instead. Gurman even said the 18 Pro and 18 Pro Max will represent minor tweaks from the 17 Pro lineup. So let me get this straight. We're looking at a phone with minimal external changes that also gets the most aggressive color launch in Pro history. That timing is interesting because it suggests Apple knows exactly what it's doing. When you can't change the hardware dramatically, you change the perception. A bold new color does that. It makes a 17S style update feel like a statement instead of a placeholder. That's not desperation. That's product management. Now, there's another phone coming this fall that's taking the opposite approach, the iPhone Fold. According to the same Bloomberg report, Apple will stay away from fun colors for its first folding phone. Instead, black and silver, traditional, safe. At first, this sounded contradictory. Why go bold on the Pro but conservative on the Fold? But then I thought about it differently. The Fold is predicted to be very expensive. It's a completely new product category for Apple. First generation, unproven in their lineup. The article notes that Samsung took the same approach. Muted colors for the first Galaxy Fold, brighter options only in later generations. The clearer pattern here is risk management. With the Fold, Apple is already asking customers to adopt a new form factor, a new durability paradigm, and a new price tier. Adding a bold color to that equation would be one more variable, one more reason for a cautious buyer to wait. Black and silver are familiar. They signal seriousness. They reduce the perceived risk. Meanwhile, the Pro line is established, proven. Apple can afford to push the color envelope there because the underlying product is safe. Two different strategies, two different psychological calculations, same company. Here's something I found genuinely surprising. The article mentions that the iPhone 18, the base model, will be held over until spring 2027. So the only non-pro iPhone launching this fall is the iPhone Fold. Think about that for a second. The regular iPhone 18 won't arrive until months after the Pro and the Fold. That's a significant shift in Apple's traditional release cadence, and it creates an interesting tier structure. You've got your cutting edge foldable at the top. All right, let's talk about the camera, because buried in this report is something that might actually matter more than the colors: variable aperture. According to the article, the iPhone 18 Pro will introduce a variable aperture for the main camera, likely exclusive to the Pro and Pro Max. Gurman lists it alongside the processor upgrade from A19 Pro to A20 Pro as one of the few meaningful changes. Now, if you're not deep into camera specs, here's why this matters. Most smartphone cameras have a fixed aperture. The current iPhone 17 is locked at f1.6. That affects how light hits the sensor. It's a permanent setting that determines depth of field and low light performance. Proper cameras, by contrast, have variable apertures, typically ranging from f2.8 to f2.2, which photographers adjust for different aesthetic effects. Variable aperture gives you control. Fixed aperture gives you simplicity. Apple has resisted this for years, and the argument was always that computational photography could simulate those effects without the mechanical complexity. And honestly, they were mostly right. Portrait mode works well enough for most people, but most people isn't the pro audience. What this tells me is that Apple is finally acknowledging there's a ceiling to what software can do. And for the Pro line, the segment that actually cares about manual control, adding variable aperture is a meaningful hardware differentiator. It also lines up with that 17S style update theory. You don't need to redesign the phone to add variable aperture. It's a camera module change, internal, technical, but for the right audience, it matters. Let me zoom out for a second. Online discourse loves to frame these updates as either revolutionary or disappointing. But that binary misses something important. Most people don't upgrade every year. They don't track color rotations or aperture specs. They upgrade when their current phone feels slow or broken or embarrassingly old. For them, the iPhone 18 Pro will simply be the new one. And if it comes in red, that's a nice bonus. But the strategy underneath matters. Apple is using color to create differentiation in a year with minimal hardware changes. They're using conservative colors to de-risk a new product category. They're reserving genuine camera upgrades for the Pro tier while they figure out how to position a folding phone that costs more than most laptops. This is a company managing multiple product transitions simultaneously and using every tool in the box to control perception. The red iPhone Pro isn't just a color choice, it's a signal that the old rules don't apply anymore. And variable aperture, that's Apple admitting that sometimes hardware still matters. We'll see how it plays out. But if you're reading the chessboard, the moves are getting more interesting, not less. Catch you in a couple of. That yo, thanks one. Peace out.